So how do you deal with non-English speakers or foreign language speakers if you're speaking another language? Well, the first thing to remember is that they're not deaf. So in other words, shouting and getting louder is not the answer. Shouting and getting louder, just saying the same words or the same phrases, but just louder and more intensely is not going to help them understand any better. In fact, all it will do is just create more tension and more disagreement and more conflict probably, okay? The issue is not that they're deaf, of course, but the issue is that they just don't understand exactly what you're saying. Changing the words or changing the way you're presenting the information is the key. Use simple words and simple phrases as much as possible, even if they're not 100% precise. You're going for a general understanding. You're not going for specificity and precision and a very clear articulation of the exact idea that you're talking about. Rather, you're just going for a general understanding so that they can understand, oh, okay, I get it. And then they're much more likely to be interested in what you're saying, much more likely to engage with you, okay? Keep in mind that depending on where you are in the world, a lot of people are not going to have the patience to deal with a foreign language speaker. Okay, depending on where you are, you've probably seen this in a lot of different situations. So if you have the patience and you have the ability to just recognize and accept the fact that they're struggling, that they're having a tough time with your language, but you're still trying to communicate with them and being very open to their challenges and still making a real effort, they're going to be much friendlier and much more likely to do business with you, much more likely to engage with you and connect with you than someone else who is more snobbish or more impatient or kind of looks down their nose at them just because they don't speak the language properly. When it comes to speaking to someone who's a foreign language speaker and is not very strong in your language, is to pay a close attention to your nonverbals, your nonverbal communication. This is where, see, when we're talking to someone who is a native speaker of our language and they can understand us very well, the temptation is always to lean very heavily on the words and on the verbal element and to pay very little attention to our posture or the way we're dressed, the way we're presenting ourselves, or hand gestures or vocal tonality or facial expressions. But all of those things are very key and very powerful when you're talking to someone who is a non-English speaker or who is a foreign speaker, because when someone is speaking in another language that they have trouble with, and you've perhaps experienced this yourself, your mind automatically is trying to absorb as much information as possible. So you're making very clear eye contact. You're really paying close visual attention to the person that you're speaking to notice any specific subtle details or subtle changes in their posture, in their body movement, in their facial expressions, or in their vocal tonality, for example, or the way they're pronouncing things, because all of that gives you information and gives you a better idea of what they're specifically saying. So for example, if someone says, I used to live in a big house, maybe they don't quite understand that. But if you say, I used to live in a big house, not only am I pronouncing and enunciating the words much more clearly, but I'm using gestures, I'm using facial expressions to get across my message much more clearly. Okay? So hopefully those tips help you. If you like the video, press like and subscribe to the channel for more. And I'll see you soon.